City Clerk, are we ready to begin?
Yes, we are.
Fantastic. Well, hello, everybody. It is 10 o'clock on Tuesday, June 9th, and I do call this commission meeting to order. Let's go ahead and do roll call. Vice Mayor,
Here.
Commissioner Carasone,
Here.
Chair Emmerich,
Here.
and Commissioner Hanks.
Here.
City Attorney
Here.
and City Clerk
Here.
and City Manager.
I'm here as well.
Excellent. Who is our police representatives today?
The police chief is on.
Thank you very much. Hello, Chief Garrison, and I too am here, Mayor McDowell. So we do have a quorum to go ahead and proceed with this meeting. And City Manager, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the United States of America and to the republic
which
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
with
justice
liberty
for all.
and justice for all. Thank you, City Manager. All righty, I guess at this time I'll turn it over to City Attorney so she can fill us in about the procedures for the virtual meeting and public comment, please.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 20-69 and the City Manager's Emergency Order number 2020-06 revised, this is a virtual meeting with elected officials, charter officers, and city staff participating through video conferencing using Zoom, a form of communications media technology. If there are any technical difficulties that prevent the use of this technology for the conduct of the meeting must be recessed or adjourned until those problems have been corrected. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, City Hall is closed to the public. Information about ways to watch the live stream and provide public comment are posted on the city's website, cityofnorthport.com/online meetings. That information is also posted on the front windows of City Hall and attached to the agenda for this meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live on the city's website, live on YouTube, accessible on video via the Zoom app, and accessible by telephone via Zoom. To provide public comment, people may submit a written comment via the online public comment form on the city's website at cityofnorthport.com/public comment. That form becomes active at 9 a.m. the day before the meeting and will be deactivated at the end of public comment during the meeting. Another way to make public comment is by leaving a voicemail message via telephone at 941-429-1032. Voicemail messages are accepted the day before the meeting from 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. Required information is referenced on both the online form and in that outgoing voicemail message. Comments that meet those requirements and that are timely submitted will be accepted and included in the official record of the meeting. Any comment received that does not meet the public comment requirements will be rejected and will not be included in the official record of the meeting. Mayor, in my opinion, these measures satisfy all applicable legal requirements.
Thank you, City Attorney. I appreciate that. All righty, so let's move on to approve the agenda that's before us today. Is City Manager, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if this is when we do it or later on, but just so I make sure we're covered. We've had a request from the West Villages Improvement District from both John Lazinski and Katie Labar that we continue items 6B, C, and D to the June 23rd meeting. They've had some input from residents up there and they want to address some issues, I believe. So if we could continue those three items to date specific on June 23rd, like I say, I'm not sure if you do that now or if you do it when you actually get to the items.
City Attorney, can you weigh in?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, City Manager, when we discussed modifying the meetings for the remainder of the month, I thought the decision was made not to put any quasi-judicial items on those meetings. Are these quasi-judicial?
Sorry,
Yes.
I was muted. All of those items are quasi-judicial.
So we don't have the procedures set up in place for those hybrid meetings to manage quasi-judicial.
Okay. Oh,
Would it be possible to continue July?
I'm sorry?
Would it be possible to continue those until one of the July meetings?
I have not spoken with them about that option. Like I said, they just emailed me between last night and first thing this morning, asking them to be continued. I don't know if any of my staff is available. We can ask Nicole in planning. I think she's in the attendee list. I don't know if, I don't see John or Katie on the meeting.
Just got. Hello, I'm on the phone with John, so give me just 1 second and I will let you know what he says.
City Attorney, could you please state again why we could not have it on the 23rd? You broke up and I didn't hear the reasoning.
On the 20, I'm sorry.
The 23rd, Mayor, we don't have procedures in place because that would be the hybrid meeting where you all would be in the chambers and the public would be digital like we had when we first went out. We don't have
You're right.
procedures in place for that.
Now I understand hybrid. Thank you very much for that explanation and further understanding. I appreciate that.
Okay, sorry about that. I just got off the phone with John and he is fine if we push those to the first July meeting.
All right, so we'll go with, that would be either July 2nd or July, I'm trying to pull up a calendar, sorry. July 2nd is a special meeting. And July 14th is the first regular meeting. Do we have a preference?
And that's at 6 o'clock?
Yes, the July 14th is a 6 p.m. meeting.
Thank you.
I don't think there's a preference from our end.
I would suggest then the July 2nd meeting so that we can get these wrapped up.
I agree.
Okay. So when the time comes, we'll make a motion to continue. And if there's any public comment, we'll have to hear that public comment for those 3 items prior to the motion to continue. Correct, City Attorney?
No, ma'am, you can simply move the items to another meeting. We're not, these hearings are not going to be open and continued. They're going to be rescheduled to another meeting.
Okay, thank you. So if there's any public comment for those 3 items, we will hear it during general public comment then?
I think what typically when we're in person, if we have people who have signed up for public comment on a certain item and the item gets removed from the agenda, I believe we do not hear the public comment. They submit public comment when the item is back on the agenda.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're covered for the public comment portion of it. So thank you for that.
So anyone who wanted to give specific public comment on those items will need to, well, they won't have to submit public comment anymore because in July we'll be live, but they'll need to come and give their public comment at the meeting when it's rescheduled.
Thank you, City Attorney. All righty, so is there anything else, City Manager, besides those 3 items?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and get a motion to approve the agenda with the request that the City Manager had.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as presented, continuing ordinance number 2020-16 to the July 2nd meeting, ordinance number 2020-14 to the July 2nd meeting, and ordinance 2020-15 to the July 2nd meeting. All right. City, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hanks, did you have anything to that?
No, ma'am.
Vice Mayor?
No.
All right, seeing nothing else, we'll go ahead and take the voice vote. Commissioner Hanks?
Yes.
I can't raise my hand here. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. We'll hold
Sorry.
off on voice vote. Hold on. Go ahead, Commissioner
Please,
Carrasone.
because I believe these are 2 different items. You may want to just approve the agenda, and then when we get to that subject, we can continue it. Because it's quasi judicial, I'm a little hesitant to have it all as part of one motion. So maybe you need to just approve the agenda, and then when we get to that, we can continue it.
I had already asked city attorney that, and she said to, city attorney, do you want to weigh back in on that?
I don't see an issue with it being in one.
I'm sorry, I could not understand you, ma'am.
I don't see an issue in doing it with one motion, but if it would make the commission more comfortable, you can certainly do it in two motions.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda, continuing those three ordinances that I stated in the motion, restated in the motion. So let's get that.
District.
Commission. You. Yeah. So did we? Please.
Public
Comment.
can see reviews and advice. Zoning advisory board, donation, report, demand, minutes and advice.
Has any?
Nothing here. I think we're just July.
The motion.
Mailed me what wants to.
We have
Kind of
John. Work so it's out. Right.
team.
Computer.
Time we detect under the thank you. City Clerk, I'm just checking since we're getting close to the 1 minute before we're supposed to restart. Has everything been resolved with the technical difficulties?
Yes, it has.
Thank you very much.
And just when you restate the last motion that, because it cut out before the vote, can you make sure to restate the ordinances that were included?
I sure will. I'll just redo it. Thank you very much. Alrighty, folks, it's 10:30. I guess our technical difficulties have been resolved. Thank you for staying patient with us on that. In the essence of transparency, let's make sure that we do have a quorum, and we will go ahead and call roll again. Vice Mayor,
Here.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner Carrasone,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner Hanks,
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
Obviously, City Clerk, because we talked, but please, for the record,
Here.
and City Attorney.
Present.
Thank you very much. So it's my understanding that the technical difficulties did not capture the motion or the vote. So in City Attorney, should we just restate the motion and have everybody vote again, or can I restate it for the record?
I would restate the motion and redo the vote as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we had a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hanks to approve the agenda as presented, continuing ordinance number 2020-16 to the July 2nd meeting, ordinance number 2020-14 to the July 2nd meeting, ordinance number 2020-15 to the July 2nd meeting. So at this time, we will go ahead and take a revote for the record, and starting with Commissioner Hanks as a motion maker.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Carrasone.
Yeah.
Since we approved the agenda, for the record, were there any public comments that needed to be heard?
No.
Thank you very much. And City Clerk, do you want to read into the record then? I assume the announcements did not get captured either.
Oh, hold on one second. Rid of them already. Alrighty. The current vacancies for the following boards and committees include the Art Advisory Board, Audit Committee, Beautification and Tree Scenic Highway Committee, Charter Review Advisory Board, Citizens Tax Oversight Committee, Community Economic Development Advisory Board, Environmental Advisory Board, Historic and Cultural Advisory Board, Joint Management Advisory Board, Police Officers Pension Board of Trustees, Northport Youth Council, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, Public Utility Advisory Board, Zoning Board of Appeals. The upcoming expirations for the following advisory boards and committees: Environmental Advisory Board, Historic and Cultural Advisory Board, Northport Youth Council, and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. One Northport resident to serve on the Sarasota Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization's Citizen Advisory Network. If anyone would like more information, please see the City Clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. Okay, so consent agenda. City Manager, has anything been pulled from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
And this is where we ran into the technical difficulties. So thank you for indulging us while we repeated all of that. Alrighty, so nothing has been pulled from consent. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion on the floor by Vice Mayor to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Commissioner Hanks. Anything to that, Vice Mayor?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Hanks?
No, ma'am.
All right, seeing no hands raised, I do want to make a quick comment regarding the SRO contract. In light of what happened with COVID and the school board, I wanted to make sure that there was no issues with the contract in case this upcoming school year had similar issues or unforeseen situations similar to what may have happened with Hurricane Charlie, that there was a provision in the contract and the financial obligations. I'm very grateful to Chief Garrison and Deputy Chief Morales and City Manager for explaining that, yes, there is a provision in that contract for extenuating circumstances. So I just wanted that to be on the record in case anybody else was wondering or concerned. So seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and do voice vote. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks, Commissioner Carrasone,
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
and myself a yes. So that passed 5-0. All right. So I see we have a presentation, City Manager, for our strategic plan. So I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we've had multiple meetings regarding the city's strategic plan, but this is where you can have the presentation and actually have the item accepted for the 2022 to 2025 strategic plan for the city of Northport based on the direction we received from the commission. Ms. Christy Nolan is here as well. She's and look, there she is. I can actually see her too. So I will turn it over to her so she can walk you through the final steps so that we can get this completed.
Fantastic. And since it is a presentation on the agenda, I do have 15 minutes for you, Ms. Christie. So thank you very much for joining us. It's nice to see you again. Go
Thank you,
ahead,
Madam
please.
Mayor. And thank you, City Manager and Commissioners, city officials. I'm delighted to be here with you today and to see everyone well. Delighted to present for your approval and adoption the City of Northport's 2022 to 2025 strategic plan. It was a privilege to once again serve as your strategic planning facilitator. So earlier this year, you invested considerable time in partnership with senior leadership to chart a future direction for the city. And after numerous planning sessions, this plan before you emerged. Similar to your existing plan, it focuses on 8 priority areas. And those 8 priority areas are health and public safety, historical, cultural, and environmental preservation, parks and recreation, affordability, growth and development, infrastructure, neighborhood enhancement, economic development and job creation, and finally, efficient and effective government. The strategic goals for each area remain mostly the same from the current strategic plan and continue to provide a solid strategic framework for the future. So the objectives, however, for each goal have evolved, and I won't take the time to go into each of those objectives because it's quite comprehensive, but I know all of you have spent considerable time with the planning sessions and reviewing the final document. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the strategic plan and field any comments that you have.
Well, thank you. All right. Does anybody, Vice Mayor Luke?
Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful presentation that she has. I did want to bring up, though, that the phone number attached to me is not my phone number. Actually, the phone number attached to Commissioner Emmerich is my phone number, so they may have got turned around. So I just wanted to acknowledge that so it could be corrected. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's appropriate to have the mayor's letter in the very front of the plan. The plan is for a 3-year period of time. And I don't want anyone in the future to get confused that the mayor plays a larger role than any of the other commissioners. I'm not sure how the rest of y'all feel, but it's already confusing enough. But to have a 3-year strategic plan, and then it seems like the mayor is separated out from the other commissioners, it's a little bit, I'm a little concerned over that it may be a misconception amongst the residents that read it. That's my opinion.
I would assume Commissioner Carrasone, this would be an issue for everybody. I would assume if this was done last year, citizens would have been a few citizens would have been in an uproar about it. So, yeah, I think it's good. We should, let's just keep it among the five of us.
To that, I don't think we did it. I don't ever remember a mayor or chair's letter in the beginning being separated out from the other four commissioners. Maybe it was, and I'm just not remembering, but it just came to my attention this morning.
I only remember the city manager having a spot there. Is all I remember.
In your current strategic plan, it's a similar format. We had a separate
Yeah.
letter from the mayor as well as
Sure
the city
do.
manager.
That's what I was looking for. And I know that, and I'm going to weigh in because it was my letter and I don't want anybody thinking that I was asking to put a letter into a strategic plan. City manager approached me to write a letter for the strategic plan because it's my understanding was done that way in years past. So I was just following common practices. Now, if the board wishes to remove my letter, I have no problem with it, but it's funny how things now all of a sudden become an issue, but that's okay.
Yes, that was exactly what I was saying last year. Whenever, as the mayor, I was doing things that were common also, and
Right.
emails were going all over the place and things. So I don't care either way personally. But if it's going to be one way, it needs to be one way all the way around.
Exactly. It needs to be consistent. So, Commissioner Carrison.
Yeah, in no way did I think that you asked to put that in there. I kind of figured it was something that was by, either staff or because it was in a previous plan. But is it the previous plan? Wasn't that just for the year though? Was it a 3-year or, well, I guess its focus is on the year, but then it have a 3 to 5 year aspect of it. So, yeah, it's a 3-year plan. So I guess that, and does it change every year that we have a new mayor that comes in that adds their letter to it? Like, I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to keep the letter in there, so be it. But there should be something in there that kind of connects the mayor and the other four commissioners together so that it doesn't look as if it's so separated out, because it does look like a strong mayor when you read the first 2 pages. So.
Vice Mayor.
That's what I was going to ask was, is this done yearly enough? I mean, in the past few years, I think it's proven that it's not, that it hasn't been done yearly. I mean, we went, I believe it was 1.5 years from when I was first elected to the next time that we got together. And another point is, this is the strategic plan for fiscal year 2022 through 2025. And the mayor is in 2022. So I believe there is definitely places where the position of mayor needs to put a letter in. I don't know, as I think that the strategic plan is a place for that type of letter because of the rotation, and it is a 3-year plan. So personally myself, I don't know as there needs to be a letter from any commissioner in the strategic plan separating one out over the others. But that's my opinion.
So at this point, I would like to get a consensus to remove my letter from the strategic plan, and then make sure that it's clear that it's not included in any future strategic plans for any mayors or chairs or whatever title they hold. So let's get a consensus. Commissioner Carrison.
Yeah, please.
Commissioner Emmerich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks?
No, because I think it doesn't matter.
Vice Mayor Luke?
Yes.
And I agree with Commissioner Hanks. It's one way or the other. If we've done it in the past, it stays in the past. So let's just keep it clean. Let's keep it simple and just remove the letter. That way then it avoids any perceived confusion that all of a sudden is happening. So we'll go ahead and
Now with the new board mayor, this will never be an issue because it won't be practiced. We'll be good.
Yep. So going forward, it's not going to be an issue anymore. So that has, city manager, if you could please get that removed.
Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure that happens. And like you said, next time we do one, we'll follow what was done previously, and it won't be in there, so we won't put it in there next time either.
Thank you very much. Let's get a consensus also so that we keep things nice and clean to have the phone numbers corrected on the city officials' phone number, contact information, make sure that it is accurate. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Could you say it again? My computer broke up just a little bit.
Yeah, it was a consensus to have city manager and staff make sure that the phone numbers for the commissioners are accurate.
Yes, ma'am.
And Commissioner Carrison?
Yes.
Thank you. And I also am a yes. So there's your consensus. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Carrison, go ahead, please. You still have the floor.
Just kidding.
Just kidding? Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, I'd like to flip over to no page numbers. Timeline, there's a timeline on here. And if you go down to year 2005, it says census, the census population number is 42,587. There is no census that takes place in 2005. So I don't know.
That's a good catch.
If we're gonna show population, I agree. It should be every census taken. I would like to get a consensus to remove the 2005 population reference by census. So obviously I'm a yes, Vice Mayor.
As long as it's stating census, I believe that that's incorrect, but there is another Beaver, and put it that way. I don't have a problem with it staying because it does show increments of the city growing. So I don't mind that. I just would like it to be accurate. If it's a Beaver count, then so be it. But saying census, you're correct. It's not a census count.
Yeah, and we don't show Beaver counts every year either. So it's just better to keep the population at the census number, in my opinion. Commissioner Carrison.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know that in the past that we've done it by Beaver. Can you hear me? Sorry. Let's try it again. In the past, we've done it by the Beaver count, and then the city has updated that count on an annual basis. So I think it's important to show the growth on a year-to-year basis, but that would be a planning question as to how they do that population calculation that represents it annually. I know in the past, that's how we did it. We even went as far as appealing the counts through Beaver pretty much every 3 years to make sure that there was a guaranteed amount of populace that was representative. And we used our building permits and other things, but we did that every 3 to 5 years during the kind of the breaks between the census data collection. So I guess the question is, how did they come up with these numbers? And however those numbers were determined, they just need to represent the correct manner in which it was brought in.
So, Mayor, the 2005, I'm pretty sure was done as a Bieber number. We get that number annually. Commissioner Carrison is correct. We have used that before for various things. It is used annually for like the item you guys approved back in April, which is our fuel tax distribution numbers. But seeing as how every other number on here is based on a census, I would recommend taking that one out as well.
Yeah, because we would have 60 years or 60 notations of Bieber counts and minus the ones that are actual census numbers. I think the census numbers are the most accurate, and I agree with city manager that it needs to be a census number. But I had a consensus on the floor. I do see Vice Mayor, you want to comment again, please?
Yeah, why couldn't you just put estimated population and put that number?
We can put
May I
whichever one
ask?
you all want. I was just giving you the reasoning why I suggest removing it is because it's exactly that. It's an estimate. All the others are specifically on a census. We, as the mayor just stated, if we wanted, we could do that every year. I mean, the nice thing about the 2005 number is it shows that we basically doubled in population in 5 years. And that was a huge growth period for us. But again, we're here however you all want to do it. I'm just stating the reasons why I suggested what I did.
So I have a consensus on the floor to remove the census 2005 actual Bieber count from the timeline. Obviously, I'm a yes. Vice Mayor?
I'm going to say no because I would like to say estimated population, so I'm a no.
Commissioner Carrison?
I'm going to have to say no. I'm with Vice Mayor. I truly do believe that we need to have the Bieber count in there. It's helped us with many different things over the years. And I think that when you look at a strategic plan to see how that growth had impacted us, it's important. It's very important.
Commissioner Emmerich?
Yeah, I'm going to be a no. I believe that that number needs to be in there, even if it is an estimated number. It does show growth, so I'm a no.
And Commissioner Hanks?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a no. I would be for leaving the Beaver count in there also. Thank you.
All right, so I guess at this point, City Manager, do we need to get a consensus to have it changed to estimated count?
I think your consensus you just asked for, everybody's
Okay.
reason, so I think we're good.
Making
We'll
sure
change it
it's
to estimated
crystal clear.
population.
I do also see that the 1970 census number is also missing, if that could be added. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say to that?
I think that's a good idea.
So let's get a consensus to, I see no other hands raised. Let's get a consensus to add the 1970 census number to the timeline.
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Carrison?
Yes.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Hanks?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Emmerich?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So City Manager, if that could get added, the 1970 census.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, going back to the timeline, I understand the reason that the Braves and the Aquatic Center in 2017, where we have partnered and approved building of the Aquatic Center, but then in 2019, we opened both facilities. If this is going to be a timeline, and it's not a detailed timeline, I don't understand why we have the actual 2017 references when it opened just 2 years later. We don't reference other things that were planned. We don't reference other things that were partnered with. Granted, I'm not trying to take away the significance of it, but opening it shows the obvious that it had to be planned in order to open. So I just wanted to throw it out there for discussion, see what the thoughts were about removing the 2017 references to the partnership and the planning for the pool. Vice Mayor.
I had the same thinking that you did, so I would agree to remove the 2017 decision and just put in where 2019 where they opened. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on that? Seeing none, let's go ahead and get a consensus. I'm obviously a yes. Vice Mayor Luke.
Yes.
Commissioner Carrison.
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich.
Yes.
And Commissioner Hanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and that passed. All right, so you have your consensus to remove those items. Does anybody else remember or have any recollection of things that might want to get added to the timeline? Or bring it up since we're having the discussion at this point? Okay. The only other one that I have is on the Parks and Rec strategic priority. Bullet point is allocate resources to expand parks and recreation in the East End and West End. It sounds like something's missing. It sounds incomplete. And for obviousness, all of us know that we're talking about the East End of town and the West End of town. I just don't know if maybe we need to clarify that a little bit better. It just sounded peculiar and I wanted to just bring it up for a discussion. Vice Mayor?
I have no problem with adding East End and West End of the city. I have no problem adding those words of the city.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to weigh in? So let's go ahead and get a consensus to have them add of the city to that last bulleted point of the Parks and Rec strategic plan portion. I'm a yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Commissioner Emmerich?
Yes.
And Commissioner Carrison?
Sure.
Thank you very much. That's all the notations I have that I wanted to bring up, and I appreciate the conversation. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add? Seeing none, City Manager, I assume we need to approve, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, something just clicked with me on that timeline. We did add another activity center to our city. So we have 9 activity centers. To me, that's a historical thing to note too. So just throwing that out, it might be, something that might want to note when they were, the 8 of them were made too, but up to the group.
And it's very funny because just as I was getting ready to ask City Manager, I glanced over at my note and saw that the West Village area, the old Thomas Ranch, that annexation is not in the strategic plan, and that was huge. And I think we need to add it. So, so Vice Mayor, you want to add activity centers to the strategic plan? Does anybody want to weigh in on that topic of discussion? Personally, I think, and this is just my opinion, Vice Mayor, strategic planning is planning of the city, and the activity centers are important, but that is a planning thing. I don't know if it's so much strategic because it's planning. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on that one. So, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, Commissioner Carrison.
Thank you. The way that I view a strategic plan is that these are the things that were vetted
and the direction that the city feels it needs to go over the next 3 to 5 years. With that said, I feel like there also has to be some justification in it. Hence the reason why the annexation of West Village area, maybe even Kels Ranch, Jelks, all the other areas that have been annexed over the last 25, 30 years, maybe there just needs to be a very small summary in the beginning and also referencing the additional activity center. And the reason why I say that is that it kind of goes into the whole population count. I think that when people are looking at this, it's, you know, you could either look at it like, okay, we get it. There was an increase in population. There was, you know, these things happen in history, making them prioritize this as part of their strategic plan. Or they're just going to look at it and say, well, this is just a pie in the sky idea, you know? So I think it's important to have that historical background and those things that you have all pointed out in this plan as well, be it a very small summary, bullet points, whatever it may be, kind of like what we do in the charter in the very beginning, you know, just something simple. But I do believe it's important.
Maybe city manager, I know of like the Kels Ranch, West Villages area, those being annexed into the city. Would it be difficult and time consuming to note in the timeline when those annexations happened?
Well, considering you guys went in a couple different directions on this, no, it wouldn't be difficult. It would be time consuming because, as you see, simply changing the word census to estimated population was something that happened here at the meeting. So unless you have specific things that you'd like us to add or not add, we're gonna have to bring this back to you again, which means the whole thing gets delayed before it's actually adopted. To say exactly what you want and then know that that's
that's where I'm leaning, because if we ask you guys to come up with like a blurb or a paragraph like Commissioner Carasone had suggested, I see where that would have to come back because we would have to approve that language. But if we give you specific direction to put it in the timeline, would that still require it to come back?
No, if you said just to add the dates of, and we're specific as to which things you wanted added, then we can do that.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Carasone, would that be a fair compromise for you to accomplish what you were talking about? So that way then we can get this approved and get the strategic plan in place?
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I guess the reference would be to the West Village District areas, US 41 corridor area, as well as the ranch lands that are now known as Orange Hammock. Those three places should be added to the timeline. And the additional activity center should be referenced as well.
All right.
I'll definitely.
Okay. And I too would agree with that. City manager, is that clear for direction?
I believe so.
Thank you very much. All right, and so we've got 3 so far on consensus. Commissioner Emmerich, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you. And Commissioner Hanks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to include the annexations that were outlined and suggested by Commissioner Carasone and the activity centers. So fantastic. What a great conversation. I never thought would happen based on a simple timeline.
Strategic planning all over again.
Yeah, well, it also shows that how much detail and effort we put into the actual planning itself. This was the first that I have had discussion about the timelines. So it was pretty cool because that wasn't part of our strategic planning. So that was really cool conversation. So I see nothing else, and I do believe City Manager, you want us to go ahead and get a motion to approve or reject, depending on which way the motion goes.
Well, I'd like a motion to approve, but
I sure would too. All right, so at this time, let's get a motion on the floor, please, regarding the strategic planning.
I'll move to approve the strategic plan with the changes that have been stated.
By
Second.
consensus. Fantastic. I have a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor to approve the strategic plan as presented with the multiple consensuses that were given. And that was seconded by Commissioner Carousel. Anything to that, Vice Mayor?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Carousel.
No, ma'am.
Anybody else? Seeing no other hands up, I will just say, Ms. Christie, it was a pleasure again working with you on strategic plan. You did a very thorough job, and thank you. So City Manager, I look forward to seeing with the changes, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so at
Thank you,
this
Christie.
point, strategic planning is officially over for this time. And we will move on to the second reading of 18, which is the annexation of the property close to the wastewater plant. City Clerk, could you please read that by title only?
An ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, annexing approximately 1.6 acres of real property located in unincorporated area of Sarasota County, Florida, and contingents to the existing city limits of the City of Northport, Florida, pursuant to petition number ANX-20-057, and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include this property, providing for findings, providing for annexation, providing for assessment and taxation, providing for filing of approved documents, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. All right, City Manager, I guess I'll turn this over to you.
thank you, Mayor. If I get the clerk to add Ms. Galehouse back to the meeting, in case there's questions, I don't know that there will be, as this is the second reading. We've made the changes you all requested at the first meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to you all unless you have questions.
Seeing no questions, City Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, we do not.
Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion, please. Seeing no questions or
Move
comments.
to approve ordinance number 2020-17 as presented.
Second.
I'll second that. A motion on the floor by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Emmerich. We'll go ahead and anything to that, Vice Mayor?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Emmerich?
No, ma'am.
Anybody else have any comments?
No, ma'am.
All righty, we'll go ahead and take voice vote. As the motion maker, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Carrison,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, and that passed 5-0. Thank you very much. For those of you that may have joined after we approved the agenda, we did continue ordinance number 2020-16, 2020-14, and 2020-15 to second reading on July 2nd. So we will move on to the first reading of ordinance number 2020-22, which is calling for the referendum of a question to be placed for the voters' approval. May I get a motion to have City Clerk read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor to read by title only by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Carrison. We'll go ahead and do voice vote. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Carrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm also a yes. So City Clerk, if you could please read 2020-15 by title only.
Ordinance number 2020-2022, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, calling for a referendum question to be placed before the qualified electors of the City of Northport, Florida at the November 3rd, 2020 general election, providing a charter referendum question determining whether to amend the city charter to remove the designation of the deputy city clerk as a charter officer, providing for the full text of the proposed charter amendment, providing findings, providing for an effective date if the proposed charter amendment is approved, providing for the filing of the ordinances with the Sarasota County Supervisor of Elections, providing for publication of the text of the proposed charter amendment, providing for filing of with the Florida Department of State if the proposed charter amendment is approved, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much. I think City Manager, I'm going to turn this right over to City Attorney, okay?
Thank you.
City Attorney.
As indicated in the title, this is an ordinance calling for a referendum to amend the city charter. You will see in the ordinance the proposed actual language to the actual charter. Those changes are in section 2.02, beginning on page 2. And then you will also see the ballot question that's in here twice. It's the same thing, but starting on the bottom of page 4 at line 144. This is the actual question, the proposed language for the question to go on to the ballot for the referendum. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic. Commissioner Emmerich, I see you have a question.
Yeah, it's not about this topic. It's about a prior topic. So I can wait till the end of this one. I don't think we took a vote on the strategic plan. I don't think we actually did the official vote. Commissioner Luke made her statement. Commissioner Carasone made her statement, and then you thanked everybody and stuff. But I don't think we had an official vote to take that. Could I have the city clerk check that, please?
Susan said you did not take the vote.
How in the heck did I miss that? Because I restated the motion. All right. Hold this thought. Let's finish up with the ordinance that was just read into the motion, and then we will go back to that. Thank you very much, Commissioner Emmerich.
No, that's fine. That's why I had my hand raised for a while, but I didn't want to get in the middle of this one. So we can continue this one. Let's just go back and vote afterwards.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so we will continue on with the Deputy City Clerk referendum. Does anybody have any questions regarding this ordinance that's before us calling for a referendum item? Commissioner Emmerich, your hand is up. Did you have a question on this, please? I guess not. All right, seeing no questions. Do we have any public comment on this, City Clerk?
No, we do not.
Thank you. We will go ahead and entertain a motion then, please.
I'll move to continue ordinance number 2020-22 for second reading on June 23rd of 2020.
Second.
Motion on the floor to continue ordinance number 2020-22 to second reading on June 23rd. That was made by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Emmerich. Anything to that, Vice Mayor?
I just want to thank the city attorney for a job well done. Thank you.
And Commissioner Emmerich?
She is awesome. No, thank you. I'm good.
And I know this was a long time coming, and I'm glad to see that this is going to go out to the voters to make the ultimate decision. City Attorney, if by chance this should fail, should we make an amendment then to instruct HR to immediately start job search procedures to help move this along quickly?
Well, the charter as currently written does say that the commission shall appoint, a deputy city clerk. So if the charter referendum does fail, meaning the charter stays, as it is, then yes, you should consider hiring someone.
Yeah. I mean, obviously then if it passes, the city manager then handles the procurement of an employment position. But if it should fail, we have a responsibility then to get this filled. And I'm just wondering if we should make an amendment to, if it fails, that the HR starts looking for and putting it out whichever methods that they use to get a city applicants for a city clerk.
If you do want to make some direction regarding that, I would suggest it be a separate motion because this is a public hearing on the specific ordinance.
Thank you very well. It's kind of related. So, all right.
I don't think the motion should be. I don't think it's
Separate. Okay. So, hearing that advice from the city attorney, we'll go ahead and seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and take a vote on moving the continuation to June 23rd for ordinance number 2020-22. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Carrison,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, and that passed 5-0. So does anybody want to make a motion to give instruction in case this does fail, or do we want to address it at that time?
Personally, I'd rather wait and address it at that time. I think we know that if it fails, what our duties are, and that commission at that point would have to convene and go through the process. I think reminding ourselves ahead of time or trying to ring the bell for the future sitting commission, I don't think it's necessary.
I'm in
Yeah,
agreement.
no-
I would wait to see the results.
Yeah, and the only other reason why I was considering making it a amendment or slash a motion is because we have a new board coming on and they're getting their feet wet, and I just didn't want it to fall by the wayside. This way, then staff already has the direction to move forward with the application process for a city clerk, a deputy city clerk. So I was just trying to be cognizant of the newly elected officials and the timing of that, so it didn't fall through the cracks. But that will be an issue, I guess, that I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to pass the gavel. So Vice Mayor, you have the gavel now.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor.
I'll make a motion to instruct the city manager, if the referendum fails, to start the application process for deputy city clerk by creating an agenda item to have the conversation with the newly elected commissioners immediately after they have been sworn in.
There's a motion on the floor by the mayor to instruct or direct the city manager to place an agenda item on a future agenda after the election if this referendum fails. Is there a second to that motion? For lack of a second, the motion fails, and I am returning the gavel to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we have to go back to strategic planning, and I am just at an absolute loss how I had such a massive brain fart, and I am very grateful that we work as a board and Commissioner Emmerich caught that faux pas. So we had, City Attorney, do we need to just take the vote or reconsider the discussion item? How does that work with this error? Just,
So I think if you want to go back to the item, maybe just to keep the record clean, announce the item number and go back to that. If there was a motion made and seconded but no vote, then you can start by restating the motion and then
Okay.
voting.
so
If
City Clerk,
discussion but no motion, then you'll need to take the motion.
I'm sorry, you broke up, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. If there was discussion but no actual motion, then you'll need to take the motion.
Okay. So City Clerk, could you please read the original motion, who the motion maker was and the seconder?
Sure can't. Just give me 1 second. I'm not doing the minutes now because I'm running Zoom. Susan is. Hold on 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, it was a motion from Vice Mayor Luke, seconded by Commissioner Carrasone to accept the 2022-2025 strategic plan with the changes as stated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now, any other discussion? There's no public comment. Let's take the vote. Vice Mayor is the motion maker, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Carrasone,
Yes.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks,
Yes.
and brain fart mayor. I'm also a yes. Again, Commissioner Emmerich, thank you very much. All righty, so let's see about resolution 2020 R19, and that is it's about grants. We need to have city clerk read that by title only, please.
Resolution 2020-R-19, a resolution of the City of Northport, Florida, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute and submit Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief CDBG-DR and Mitigation CDBG-MIT grant applications for all related documents, incorporating recitals, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this item? City manager, did you or staff or anybody want to weigh in on this?
Not a tremendous amount, Mayor. These are grant applications. There's some new ones that have come available as a result of Hurricane Irma and all the stuff related to that. This one, unlike some grant applications, requires specific hoops to be jumped through, which is why you have a resolution as opposed to approving a grant application or acceptance, as we've done in the past. But this would help us get some additional funding to help make our city better prepared in the event of a hurricane in the future. So, and if you're going to have questions, I need to get Ms. Valerie Malangowski added into as a panelist because she is our grant writer. So she will probably be able to answer the questions better if there are any.
Thank you.
I'll turn it back over to the commission.
All right. Commissioner Carrasone, I do see you have a question, please.
Yes, I'm just curious, are we looking into utilizing some of these grants that are coming available, not only like this, but also the ones that they've discussed about infrastructure, to look at using them for the Price Boulevard widening project? Are we even, I mean, have we just put that on a shelf or what? Because this would have been perfect for that, but.
No, ma'am. We are actually in the process of looking for grant funding for Price Boulevard. Valerie has explored many options, some of which staff are still working on because of a project like that requires an incredible amount of work. But if she would like to speak to it, she's more than welcome to. But no, we haven't forgotten about Price, and we are certainly looking for grant opportunities for that.
Ms. Valerie, if you're going to speak, could you please unmute? Ms. Valerie, you need to unmute so we can hear you, please.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Whew. Too many mute buttons on my computer. For the record, Valerie Malagowski, grant writer in the city manager's office. Yes, Price Boulevard. We actually just submitted a build grant, which is a federal grant application for the widening. That will be coming to commission at the end of the month for the Road and Drainage District. So that's a $25 million grant. Also, we're looking at SIB loans for that possibly once that announcement's made. Also, there is another round of CDBG mitigation funds opening on Monday. And as soon as those guidelines are issued, we're going to take a really close look at those for possibility for Price Boulevard. The ones that you see here today listed, they're for existing infrastructure, not for new infrastructure. So that's what you're seeing today. On Monday, hopefully we'll get some more guidance from the state on what we can apply for.
Thank you.
Exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion then, please, on Resolution 2020 R19.
I move to approve resolution number 2020-R-19 as presented.
Second.
A motion on the floor by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Carrasone. Anything to that, Vice Mayor?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Carrasone?
I just want to say what a great job staff is doing, is specifically our grant writer, and great job to this commission for seeing how important a grant writer is to the city. Because I'll tell you right now, she's going to pay off more than you'll ever know. So thank you, and thank you, Valerie, for all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your support.
Commissioner Hanks?
Yes, ma'am. I too want to thank Valerie so much. You are so amazing. And I also want to thank Commissioner Carrasone, because it was her instruction, because we were all relatively new in helping us understand how important a grant writer is. And so I also want to thank you too, Commissioner Carrasone. You have been a great, instructor in us as we were early on. And thank you for seeing this need and expressing it to us in such a way that we can understand it. Thank you. And thank you too, Valerie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ditto to everything that was said, because Commissioner Carrasone brought it up and it showed the value of this, and Valerie is doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank
Seeing
you.
nothing else, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Vice Mayor is the motion maker.
I'm happily a yes, and with gratitude for the growth of the city that includes this grant writer position and what everybody does. So yes, thank you.
As a seconder, Commissioner Emmerich,
Yes.
Commissioner Carrasone,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanks,
Yes.
and I also am a yes. So resolution passed 5-0. All right, do we have any public comment, general public comment that may have come in yet, City Clerk?
We do not.
No public comment. Commission communications, we'll start with Commissioner Hanks.
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Emmerich,
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Carrasone,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Luke, Vice Mayor Luke.
I don't know if you see the shirt that I'm wearing, but can't even conceive defunding a police department. And I'm very proud of our police department. Yes, all systems have issues and problems, but nobody's above the law, not the lawmaker nor the law enforcers. And systems that maybe allow too much leeway or protection within them need to be looked at. It's not just police department systems, it's all systems, because nobody is above the law. But I'm very proud of our police department and could never conceive thinking about defunding them.
Mayor, may I address the Vice Mayor really quick?
Absolutely, go ahead, Commissioner Hanks.
Vice Mayor, thank you very much. I also want to point out the shirt you're wearing shows that we are a double Excelsior rated, and very few departments in this country are that, and that is something we are very proud of. And it takes there is a lot of criteria to be double Excelsior rated. It's not just safety. It's not just what we do. It's the culture of our department and the way we organize with the community. And being double Excelsior rated is a tip of the spear. Like I said, very few in our country get that, and it encompasses all aspects. So thank you very much, Vice Mayor.
So I don't have any specific communications other than the fact of I have to applaud city manager for the hiring of our police chief. I know I was not happy with the delays in hiring him, but I appreciate his wisdom in waiting for the perfect police chief. Chief Garrison has made tremendous strides in changing the culture of our police department. He is to be given huge props, and I know he won't take those because it is an entire unit and they all work together. And I appreciate that. And he's changed the culture, and I have already stated emphatically my support for our police department and our police officers. And everybody in that department, along with our fire department, but there seems to be some national movement about defunding our police officers, and I will have no part of it as long as I'm an elected official. I can't imagine life without the police department or the police officers, or removing their funding. It's beyond my comprehension. So thank you, city manager. Thank you, police chief. Thank you, police department. And that's all the comments I have. Moving on to administrative, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate not only the kind words you made for me, but also for the police chief. I think we have an amazing city team as a whole, not just the police department, certainly all of them. But unfortunately, right now, police departments across the country are under attack in a variety of ways. So it is very unfortunate what happened out in Minneapolis. And I applaud our police chief for his quick and decisive statements he made. To my knowledge in the area, he was the first one to come out publicly and make those statements. I happen to agree with you. I think it was a great hire, especially considering I made it. So I would hate to think I thought otherwise. And like I said, when we hired Chief Garrison, the goal was to find the best police chief for Northport and one that fit our community. And I believe Chief Garrison is exactly the right person for the job. And he was well worth the wait.
Yep.
With that said, I think that we've had enough for today. So I'm going to pass it over to the other charter officers.
Thank you, city attorney.
Just wanted to let the commission know that when City Hall reopens on June 15th, all of the staff of the city attorney's office will be returning to the building.
Oh, fantastic. It'll be nice to see you again. Thank you. City clerk.
I don't have anything there.
Thank you very much. Seeing nothing else for the good of the order, it is now 11:32 and we are officially adjourned. Thank you, guys.